Going live. Hey, we're live. Okay. My wife will be down here in a little while. So I am the one that's in here. Ow, pulled that. So we are going to be working on the desk today and just kind of hanging out in the shop. So be here for a while. If you're working in your shop, I'd love to hear the projects you're working on, what's going on. Yeah, so if you have any questions, throw them in there. I'm going to try and read as much of the comments as we can. Once Sarah is done, she'll come down here. She's actually just got off her shift at the hospital. Hey. And she just, let me do this down here. So she's been at the crazy zone in the hospital, having fun. So I do not envy her at all. So today we are going to be working on these. These are the long stretchers, and I need to then make sure I label these all correctly. Let's see. The low number ones are in the office. The high number ones are in the shop. You are echoing. Yeah, I was echoing over there because I had two microphones in front of me. Sorry. Actually, I might have the upstairs still on. Let me make sure that is off. I have like 7 microphones in the shop. Yep, it's off. No. Yep, there we go. Off. So I'm echoing over here because I have 2 microphones. So hopefully this is a little better over here. If it's not, let me know. Good afternoon, everyone. Texas. Hey, Texas. Cool. So, what I've been doing here is, the last time I went live, we were working on putting chamfers and smoothing out all of the leg structures. And so now I'm trying to figure out which one is which. Kids are the high numbers. Good. So this is a kids one, but I have to make sure I'm labeling which one's top and which one's bottom. This is joint 11. This is joint 12. Because once I take this tape off, I'll never know which one they are for. And this one is the kids. K, here, I, D, S. And I'm labeling it on the top of the tenon so that I know which way is up on these. K, I, D, S. So if you have questions, throw them in there. I'll try and keep them up. Is our ripsaw teeth bent outward like saw teeth from a crosscut saw? Yes. When the teeth bend out past the plate, that's called set. And yes, they almost all saws have set. A lot of Japanese saws don't have set. Dovetail saws usually have set, but they have a very, very, very small amount. Any flush cut saw does not have set, but most every other saw out there has some set into them. And usually the bigger the tooth, the more the set. The smaller the tooth, the less the set. From echo to echo. Sorry, cut twice. Don't know what you're referring to. Cool. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to getting the chisel test information back, but I don't know when I'll be getting it back, as a lot of things are shut down. I don't know if the testing company is actually shut down for it. I'm assuming they are, but I can't release anything until that data comes out, which is kind of sad, but oh well. There's a 2-second delay between your voice and the echo. Does anyone else notice that, or is it just cut twice? Because sometimes that is on the output side and sometimes it's on the input side. Yeah, it might be if you restart the feed on your side, you'll get a better result. So, we're going to do some chamfering on this. And normally when I put a chamfer on a board, I just grab my block plane and go to town on it. But in this case, I have this plane set up with some chamfering fences on it. I have an entire video on that if you want to see it. And so I'm just going to be running it out. The nice thing about this is for big chamfers, heavy duty things, this just makes it a lot faster. So I can go all the way down this and I can get an even chamfer from one end to the other. I actually rarely set this thing up as a chamfer plane because it takes so long to set up. What am I loose on? Something's loose. Oh, there's what's loose. Something's rattling. What is it? That screw came out. Going toasty white oak. Yes, I love white oak. And this makes it really nice because all my chamfers are exactly the same. I'm not worrying about them being at 45 degree or what I want. I just know that they're all going to come out the same because the plane's set up for it. And I just go until it bottoms out. Camera is set low, making your head out of the cut. Yeah, I'm trying to focus more on the work. This one, it's kind of hard to get the whole thing in there. Let me see if I can do this actually. There, let's see if that makes it better for you. My shop is a lot smaller than it looks, and anytime I'm doing something large, it's difficult to get everything in the shot. So I'm thinking about doing a few lives like this throughout the week, doing them earlier. Is set too low. Oh, cool. And also for those of you who are patrons or members, I'm probably going to be doing a live hangout in the next couple days and just do a live hangout in the shop while I'm working. So if you want to work on your projects, we can work along beside each other and watch each other work in the shop, which I thought would be kind of fun. Is that the bottom? Nope. Well, that's close to it. I think that's about it. There we go. There's that chamfer. Now we can work on the other side. I have two number 5s I'm restoring and getting set up. A 5 and a 5C. Should I set up the 5C as a scrub plane? Completely up to you. Some people really love using a scrub plane as their smoothing plane or their finish plane. Using a corrugated plane as a smoothing plane or finish plane. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of corrugated planes. So if you're going to set up one of them as a scrub plane, I would set the corrugated one up as a scrub plane. But in the end, it's really a personal preference. Great to see you. Plus, we really enjoy your videos. It would be cool if you could do a shop class. I've been thinking about doing something like that, and not quite sure what I would do. The problem is I'm getting really close to finishing this desk, and I'm kind of at the point where I have to put a lot of time in on this desk in order to get the videos out. Though I have thought about just putting off finishing the desk build until later. We'll see. It would be kind of fun to do a couple small build-along projects. Tell people what they need to get ahead of time. Yeah, if anyone wants to do the live hangout, it's just for anyone who's a patron, even if it's $1 a month. I'll be doing a live hangout in the shop so you can see each other's shop and work along each other. To me, a 5 has a bigger bed, allowing the plane not to ride any cup in the wood. Well, a 5 and a 5C have the exact same bed, the exact same size. It's just a C has corrugation on the bottom. So, yeah. Yeah, Sarah just got home from work, and she's a nurse. So she's been pulling some really crazy stuff lately. So she's up there hanging with the kids for a bit, and then she's going to come down. Oh, that's why I was tilting the plane the wrong way. Almost there. Almost there. So tonight, my goal is to chamfer both of these long verticals, both of the long arches, and then glue up the foot structures. Yeah, also, if anyone is a member here on YouTube, I'll also be submitting the link there so people can follow that as well. Yeah, and plus, the last couple days, everything has been focusing on getting the kids started up in homeschool. We were actually planning on homeschooling the kids starting next year, but with all of this, we're starting them early. So we've been scrambling to get laptops and programs set up and then actually getting them going. So most all of yesterday and today has just been getting the school system set up so that they can do it. But thankfully it was something I've already been looking into and was already thinking about doing next year. But now, now we have to. Wish you... What plane you're using there? This is a Veritas custom plane. It is by far my all-time favorite plane. And if I had to buy one bench plane and money wasn't an object, the Veritas custom planes are my top pick by far. And in this case, I have several fences put on there. I have a video actually showing making the fences and installing them if you want to see that. If you search for Wood by Right chamfer plane, you will find that video. And that's one of the things, if you're ever looking for a video, you know, did James make a video on that? Type in Wood by Right and then whatever topic, and you'll probably come across something. So I have over 1,000 videos out now. Let's see, what other we got? You got you a challenge, Trailmaker wooden toothbrush. A wooden toothbrush. Okay, that would be interesting. I envy you with homeschooling. The Denver homeschool has been sending home hot spots to the devastating of the kids. Yeah. Well, our school system was planning on only being gone for a week. And so they were trying to do some school from home stuff, but we're doing a pretty, it was more or less just some brush up to keep them up to speed. But now everything's longer, so more. Hey!
Hey, Daddy.
The better looking half of this channel has arrived.
Why don't you go by Daddy?
What's that?
I was telling her, why don't you go by Daddy?
You can come on over here, Mel.
I cannot stop looking
Are you
at
just
this.
making faces at yourself?
I'm just laughing.
Oh,
Great to
it
see
says
you.
I am
How
now a
have you
patron. I
been?
thought
Hoping
it
the
said...
family's doing well. Yeah, the family's doing great, actually.
Oh, my word.
Melody, have you been enjoying homeschooling?
Yeah.
What's your favorite part of homeschooling?
My favorite.
Go by Daddy.
My favorite.
The microphone's right by her there.
My favorite part of homeschooling is the music part. I love music.
There's a reason, because her name's Melody.
Soft music to be precise.
I'm hoping the video this Saturday will actually be Melody, because we made an easel with her. And so if it all comes together, we'll have a video on Saturday showing making an easel with Melody. And I want to do a few projects like that with kids in the shop since, well, kids will be around more. And she'll actually have a version of it on her channel because she has a channel called Melody's Workbench.
Yeah. I'm planning on making a new channel called Go Princess. I am.
We'll see if that one comes around.
Focus on woodworking right now.
But she'll actually be, it'll be a very similar video footage to the one I put out, but she'll be narrating it and talking through it as if, or from her point of view, and what was going on there. And if anyone's looking for projects to make while you're stuck in the shop, I have a bunch of projects on my page that are free, especially like the kids projects, bird feeders and bird houses, things like that. I have several of those plans that are free you can download. And if you watch the Thursday video on Wood by Right 2, I have a link in there where you can get 50% off of all plans. So I'm cutting all my plans 50% off for the duration of this mess. What am I running into? It's just bottoming out. I thought I had a few more passes. Nope. That's it. So there. That one is chamfered all the way. So I'm going to set that one aside, mark up the other one, and chamfer that one down. Any questions right now, babe? What?
No, sorry, I was chewing.
Oh.
You know, like the whole thing, I just got home and eating supper. Yeah.
Yeah, she just got home and I'm like, I'm doing it live. You want to come downstairs? And she's like, I just got home. Sorry, babe. I love you.
You're not sorry.
I am. 6. Office. So I'm marking on the tenons inside the joint where no one will see it. Melody, melody, melody.
Sorry.
No.
I'm just singing.
I know you are.
Songs in my Lion King
I know
Why
you
don't you
are.
go with Daddy and do some woodworking?
No. I don't like going up in the red.
Why? Okay, Mel.
She is camera shy, if you can't tell. And when she gets camera shy, she starts dancing.
I just love to dance.
Yes, you do. Have you ever thought of different uses for plane shavings? You know, when I first got into it, I saved all my plane shavings, and then I tried using them for mulch in the garden, and I tried all sorts of different things. And every now and then there's a project where I can use plane shavings for like a Christmas decoration or something of that nature. But now I just throw them out.
I'm not a big fan of videos as well.
It seems when you first get started, it's so sad because they're so cool, and so much of what you do is the love for these shavings. But in the end, they're just sawdust. So I trample them underfoot, crush them down, and then throw them away. If I had a chicken coop, I'd probably use them out there. But I don't want a chicken coop.
Thank you. Something we agree on.
Have you ever?
Hang
on. I'm using the time to restore a 60.5. Cool. You okay?
Yep. Just reorganize.
Oh, clearing off the chair for her?
Trying.
Hey, have any plans
Melody, stop the class.
worked for you? Gonna try myself.
Nice little sit down.
Play Dancing Queen.
Take a thicker shaving, yeah.
What even is
I
Dancing
can-
Queen?
It's a song.
Sorry.
I don't know it.
What's the best way to transport your tools? I actually use a Stanley plastic rolling tote. So it's like an 18-gallon tote. It has wheels on it, and it's currently buried, or I'd pull it out. You can pick them up in most of the big box stores for like $20. I know a lot of guys who use rolling suitcases, and they just pack everything in socks and other things like that. I know a few guys who pack them in their suitcase and just stuff the clothes around them. I've seen a few guys make their own things, but most of the time when you make your own thing, it's really heavy. So, but yeah, most of the time I just get a rolling tote and stick them in that. Well, here, I can show you the rolling tote.
I just can't.
Here.
Hello? Huh?
Oop, caught my microphone.
Oh, Ola. Is Spanish. Hello.
dust in the throat.
Happy birthday, Anne.
Yep.
What?
It's
Come on.
Alan's birthday today.
Who is Alan?
Oh,
Alan
don't
Smith.
yank the cord.
Oh, never know him.
Maybe I can't show you the coat.
I never met him, Mom.
Okay, Melody, you're really loud in that microphone.
Why so early? Because James decided he wanted to be early today, Alan. It's an early birthday present, I guess. I don't know.
Here, you switch over to 2. Come on, switch.
You're just actually procrastinating.
There we go. So yeah, that's the tool tote that I used back in there. It has wheels on it, a pull-out handle, and I can stuff most all of my used
Excuse
tools
me.
in that. So that actually works really, really well for me. But everyone's a little bit different.
I can't know.
Come on. Switch back. There
You're
it
gonna
goes.
manage?
What other questions we got, babe?
Nada. Except for Alan asked why so early.
Really?
Yes.
No other questions?
That's the,
Oh,
Guys, it is.
fine.
It
Do
is
that way.
that one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to trying doing the glue up live, because have you ever seen a glue up? They rarely go to plan.
oh, we'll tell
Happy
him.
birthday, Alan. I guess so weird saying that.
Now, the reason I'm doing it a little bit early is it's better for most populations around the world. And with people not working as much, it's not a problem for Americans. So earlier tends to get a little bit better audience.
You can ask Daddy that question.
Hey, Dad.
What, Melody?
There's a question from Mike.
What's that?
Do you work on these projects all day, or just a little bits as a time at a time?
That depends on the project. I shoot the video footage for most all of my videos all together once every 2 weeks. So Luke, my videographer Luke, he lives about an hour away. And so he comes down once every 2 weeks. Did someone super chat?
Yes.
Oh, the link did work.
It says James does a happy birthday dance.
Well, so to answer the question, Luke comes down once every 2 weeks, and we shoot all of our video footage then. Well, in the desk build, I'm building 2 desks side by side, and so I try and have enough of the steps to create 2 videos worth when he comes down. So that means I got to do a lot of work ahead of time for that. But I usually spend anywhere from 10 to 25 hours a week actually woodworking,
Oh my word.
because I have to get everything ready for when he comes down.
Okay.
So I'm going to be doing a lot of the actual finishing. So next time he comes down, I'm going to have one desk that is all ready to put the finish on. And then I'm going to have another desk that needs to do a lot of the final steps before getting to finish. And that way we can show all of these steps together, because it'll probably be 2 more videos on the desk itself. So no, probably about a half to 2/3 of my time is spent doing social media and creating plans and all the behind the scenes stuff rather than the actual woodworking. So I don't get to woodwork as much as I would like, but that's the way it is.
Hang on.
Alan wants a happy dance or happy birthday dance. What's a happy birthday dance?
I don't know, but melodies.
I just can't help dancing.
Happy birthday dance.
Happy
How's that?
birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Alan. Happy birthday to you.
There you go. That was the $10 version.
I don't care how much money you give. I want none. Do anything you want for it.
Do I want to play Super Smash Brothers Ultimate? Can I do that in a little bit?
Does Arthur look a little different to you guys? He got his hair. Daddy, wanna play Super Smash Bros. Ultimate?
Maybe later, bud. Go play.
Tell everybody bye.
Oh, hi. Dad, Alan said, what is this part? What is this part of the build?
This is the back stretcher.
Ooh.
So this is the stretcher that goes between the legs on the desk. And in a minute, I'm actually going to start working on the arch, the large arch, and chamfering that as well. So, and then we're going to go through and smooth them all, and then hopefully clamp together and glue up the leg structures. What other questions we got, Melody?
Read this one.
I just got a 113 compass plane without the wheel adjustment knob. Should I store it with the plane flat? Plates flat.
Yes and no. It really doesn't matter that much whether you store it flat or bent. I keep mine ever so slightly concave, but that's because they clamp into the board well that way. But most people are going to tell you to store it flat. In all honesty, it's really not going to make that much difference whether you store it flat or with a slight bend in it.
Hey, Dad, Alan's.
You got a super chat for that dance?
Yes. And he's giving, and he says, for Melody, for the
I'll have to put that in your bank account, Melody.
$9.99. Thank you.
You just made her day, Ellen.
Sorry, everyone else, that feeling special. Thanks, Maya. Yes.
What's the next question, Melody?
Should I do this one?
You can do that. You can do that.
It's from Kai 321. James, how would you make a little round wheel for a treadle lathe? The wheel that transforms to force into the live center.
You make a little round wheel for a treadle lathe. I don't know exactly what you're talking about. Normally what happens is, there's a whole bunch of different ways of turning the lateral motion of the treadle into the flywheel motion. And most common way is actually just to have a pin going through the treadle arm and then into the flywheel. And then the flywheel is just balanced on one side. But if you have a flywheel that's balanced on both sides and you have a shaft going through, you have to have a smaller wheel that goes on the other side. In that case, I just make a small flywheel and put a pin in it. Not really overthink it. I would probably take 2 pieces of wood and laminate them at 90 degrees, provided that they are similar. In this day and age, I'd probably make it out of plywood because it's a little bit stronger in multiple directions. But yeah, it's the hardest thing is clamping the wheel to the shaft. And the easiest way to do that is just drill a hole all the way through the wheel and through the shaft, so you can drive a pin through the wheel and through the shaft. It makes it pretty quick and easy, and then you can always drive that pin out if you need to remove it. But that's probably the most common way to do it.
2 more questions. Are you making a transformable desk? Traditional desk or computer desk? And if the computer desk, do you have plans for any sort of cable management?
I don't quite know what you mean by traditional or computer desk, but the desk I'm having is just a simple slab top. I am going to put several USB discs in the top so you can plug in power things. This top stretcher will be there so I can actually put clips on the back side of it, and that way I can run cables along this stretcher to get them out of the way. I'm also thinking about insetting a power supply into the top of the desk as well, but we'll see. So yeah, now I finished the chamfering on these. I'm going to basically finish scrape these, and they're pretty good. They've been left from
Did you hurt your toe?
the saw pretty good. Oh, we got a stub toe.
Did you
So it just takes a couple passes with this card scraper, unless there's a spot that has something on it.
Oh my goodness. Should we cut it off?
These will then be basically ready for finish. And I haven't quite decided my finish on this.
Sorry.
Originally, I was going to do Rubio monocoat,
Arthur, do not.
but part of me is actually thinking of doing a veneer, not a veneer, marine varnish. There we are, varnish. So we'll see how that goes. What's next, babe?
Hang on, I've got.
This one. That's the next one.
Okay. Well, no. Go down here. Where was the one I was just saw?
Oof, I like that. One big curl from one end to the other. With the
There
card
was a
scraper.
question earlier of your favorite wood to work with.
My favorite wood to work with is white oak. It's not the easiest wood. It's one of the more difficult woods. But it is well worth the difficulty because it's an absolutely gorgeous wood. So, yes, white oak is my preferred lumber to work with.
Okay, hang on. I would do that one. This one right here.
I don't know his name.
Rice.
Rice? Ask the question as well, Dad.
What's the question, Mel?
Being new to hand tools, what are you doing with the card scraper?
Scraper.
The card scraper actually has a small burr on the edge, and it basically is a plane. So I have a burr that is scraping the edge, and it's causing the planes to come up onto that burr and wrap up into a tight curl.
Hello?
So the nice thing about a card scraper is you can go against the grain, with the grain, across the grain. It is a bit of a pain to master. But once you do, it replaces sanding, and you get these beautiful wispy curls that come off. Just a lot of fun. And yeah, just like that, this is ready for finish. No sanding required. It leaves the pores wide open, whereas sanding clogs the pores. So sanding to the hand feels smoother, but that's because you're filling all the pores, and it's actually, well, it's smoothing it out. To the hand, oak always feels far more rough with a card scraper, but that's because you can actually feel the pores and the grain in the wood. What's next?
Hang on. I gotta get caught back up on the chat.
And then I've got spots like this where I've got some marks in here. These are actually marks from the drive wheel on the clamp. And so just a couple more passes with that, and I can get rid of those. So if you have any pencil marks or marker marks, you can very quickly get rid of them.
Melody, stop.
Just like that.
Melody, either go play or sit in. Okay. All right. So Ivy's Forge and Homestead asked if you're going away from your typical boiled linseed oil.
Yes, I don't use boiled linseed oil on furniture. That is for things that I put in my hand. Any hand tools or planes, tool totes. Boiled linseed oil just feels really, really good. It's not a protective finish, so it's not something that will protect it from stains and things like that. Whereas if I go with a hard wax, like Rubio monocoat or something of that nature, these will be much more protected for when the kids dump a pot of hot chocolate. It's okay. And yes, they will be dumping hot chocolate on this at some point, I'm sure. Because one of these desks are for the kids and their homeschooling. What's next?
Well, that's only if you let them have it. Since
What's that?
I said it's only if you let them have it.
What, hot chocolate?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I won't be the one home.
Well, no, but you're the one more likely to make it.
Hey! You hush 'ems right now. Now. Okay, here. Ask this question.
Tom West asked, why do you normally use a hand card scraper instead of one with metal or wood frame?
I think he's talking about instead of a cabinet scraper.
No, it's a card scraper.
Well, the cabinet scraper is basically a card scraper that is in a jig for holding it. And this works absolutely great, and it is fantastic on large flat surfaces like this. But there's something about a card scraper and just feeling it in your hand that feels really, really good. And as long as you have good management for the heart spot, I know a lot of people will put a magnet on the back. I actually have a few magnets that have done that in the past. But there's something about this that just feels good. You get to see the immediate result before and after. So I do it freehand more often. Just gets a little bit warm. Just let it stop for a second and you're back to work. Just like that. Oh, that feels so good. Happiness. So these are ready for finish. Now we can start working on the curved arches. Oh, shoot. Uh-oh.
What'd you do?
I forgot to glue up to cut in one of them. I guess we're going to be doing some joinery today because I can't remember. And so you've got, oh, so it is just that one. Okay, cool. So, yeah, for the video, I cut in the joinery on one end of this, that end, but I didn't cut in the joinery on the other end because, well, I don't need to show both ends for the video. I just need to show one end. So that means I got to do some joinery work in here. What's the next question?
There's a question that follows that question. Is it for dexterity?
Texture?
Dexterity. Why are you using it?
Not really. It's just because I like a card scraper. There's something that feels really, really good about it. You know, for me, woodworking, the hand tool woodworking I do is not because it is better or it produces better results or it is faster or it is more efficient. For me, I choose the method I choose because I find it to be more fun. And the more fun the method, the better the chance I'm going to use it. Okay, I got to pull this out because I got these marks on here. I made all the marks on this, but I haven't actually laid out the final joinery on it.
Be right back. I'm going to get this.
I completely forgot that. What's next?
Let's see.
Getting my sketchbook, by the way, Dad.
I'm not distracted at all tonight. Kai asked, how would you remove the metal which mushrooms out when you hit metal wedges? Or spreads out?
How would you remove the metal? On what tool? I don't know what you're talking about.
I have no idea.
You have to come back to that one.
Let's see.
Uh-oh.
That's rough.
Well, that's not what I want to see. I may have to come back to this one because these marks I made aren't making any sense. Melody, shh. Melody, close the door.
Sure, Dad.
So I've got a mark there and a mark there, but I should have another set of marks.
So, let's see. With Myra, part 2 will be back on the air. Who knows? Social distancing.
Blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah,
I don't know.
Well-
Mama was on the chat.
What's that?
I said your
Sarah
mom
or-
was on the chat
Is she?
earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Sarah.
No, it's yeah, as soon as she can come back. We were thinking it would be okay for her to come out, but she is actually one of the most at risk because she just actually recently had a heart valve transplant. So, yeah, she's just going to stay in her house.
And there's something about her daughter-in-law works at a hospital and, you
Yeah.
know.
Sarah sees what's going on and says, you ain't coming out of this house.
No.
Okay, so I can't do that until I'm going to have to do a good bit more work before I get that. But I can get to this and we'll do some glue up tonight as well. So I've got this one ready to go. What's next?
Okay, so Abdullah asked if this is a Q&A vid. It's just a hangout video.
Yeah, we're just hanging out in the shop, having a little bit of fun. If you have questions, go ahead and throw them in there. I'm just getting some work done and thought it'd be a good time to do a Q&A.
Now, as far as I know, Alan does not produce videos. He just picks on people who aren't his own size.
Yeah, so for this one, the arch is just enough that I can't use the plane to do that. So for this, I'm going to use a cabinet scraper. Excuse me, a spoke shave. There's the word. And I usually just keep another piece that I put chamfers on close by so that I can eyeball it and just stop at the right time. The thing I need to be careful of is I want to keep a nice 45 degree on here because it's very easy for the plane to tip one way or the other from the top to the bottom. Also, because it's so long, it's very hard to get a nice even curl all the way from one spot to another. So usually I'm going to work in one section and I'll do both sides of that. Then I'll work in another section, I'll do both sides of that, and I'll keep moving along so I do that. First I got to roll up sleeves. What's next?
Yes, it looks exactly like Alan Melody. So first of all, we got a super chat.
Woo!
So thank you, Tom. We need mom joke. We have not been doing any mom jokes with all these super chats.
By the way, Alan, I got a picture for you.
Okay, you can show Alan.
Birthday picture. It's you, Alan. I'm not the best drawer.
Here, get it a little closer.
Yep.
Yep, I think
you.
that looks just like Alan. Perfect.
And I also
Wait,
put
is
my
that
dad's
Alan or is that
merch-
the Grinch?
I made you wearing.
Paint it green, Mel.
Hang on, I gotta get
I'm
my
not
mom
the
jokes.
best. I'm not the best.
You are very good, Melody.
Mom says I'm the artist of the family.
She is.
And
It's the reason we
artist-
made an easel. What's the mom joke?
A cheese factory exploded in France. Debris is everywhere.
I likes it. I likes it a
I
lot.
knew you'd like it. It's a cheese joke.
Dad, do you not mind if I tell people about my artist joke?
What's your artist
Oh
joke?
dear.
Yeah. What did the easel say to the artist?
What did the easel say to the artist?
Paint me up. Okay. If you don't think it's funny, I'm okay with that.
The apple does not fall too far from the tree.
By the way, Alan.
What's
the shirt
next?
that
We'll
you're wearing
send the
is my
picture
dad's.
to you, Alan. You can have it and put it in your profile. Okay, let's see. Idle Hands Workshop asks, ever thought of making a router plane from a large horseshoe?
A router plane from a horseshoe. I have not.
That sounds like a great thing to invite my cousin over for.
Wait, you got
Yeah, her
Yeah, cousin.
her cousin is a black shop and still does what's the term? Makes horseshoes.
A farrier.
Ferris?
He's the Ferris.
Don't call him a Ferris. Now he
No,
he also makes fire pokers and sells them. Really cool stuff.
a horseshoe router.
What even is a horseshoe router?
They're talking about creating it. Okay, hang on, I gotta get it.
Gotta go the other direction. Ooh, no. This one, the grain is just not listening to me. It's a lot like my wife. There's a reason she's way over there. Social distancing is a good thing. I guess. What's
Lucky
next?
I don't throw my slipper at you right now. You know, the doghouse should be your next project at this rate.
We don't have a dog. Why should we make a doghouse when we have no dog? Doesn't make sense.
That's a very good question, Melody.
They all understand why Daddy deserves to have one.
That makes sense.
It will in about 20 years, my dear.
But that's allergic to their fur.
I know, Daddy.
Why would he get a dog if he's allergic?
What's next?
I'm sorry, I'm distracted.
For a lot of the small detail chamfering, it's much easier to grab a block plane, but it's easier to do when the vise is closer.
Landon Ford asked, so I am making a new workbench. How far apart would you make the dog holes?
That depends on how much you want to move your vise. I have mine 3 inches apart at the narrow end for about 2 feet, and then after that they go about 6 inches apart. Because most everything I'm doing is under 2 feet, and so it's much easier to have them 3 inches apart, so I'm only having to move the vise in and out 3 inches. But for the times where I'm doing other things that are longer, not as common, so those are out at 6 inches. But every person you ask is going to give you a different idea because it's a very personal question.
Landon says he's making a viceless workbench. Does that make a difference?
Well, then it depends on which method you're using to hold. Then, if you're using hold fast, then wherever you want to use hold fast. Usually you would have the circular reach of your hold fast, lay that out on there so you have overlapping circles so that there's always something within reach of where your hold fast will go. But then again, that just depends on you.
Dad, this is for you.
What's that?
She's drawing tools with your logo.
Yeah.
Drawing what?
There's a hammer, a
Tools
chisel,
with
and a
your
mallet. Yeah, I love it.
Are you in charge of marketing?
What? I love to draw.
I know you do.
Gets the Sharpies from Daddy's bin of markers. Draw. I just can't help drawing.
Love in-grain cutting. What else we got?
Oh my. Hate a black
Got some
one.
epoxy on here I need to clean off.
Okay, that's black enough.
Daring Dweller asked, I am also making a workbench. How long do I need it?
That depends on what you're doing. My first one is 8 foot long. And if you have the space for it, 8 foot is a really nice size. 8 foot allows you to do just about anything you need. Problem with 8 foot is it takes up a lot of space. So if you don't have space for it, then don't build an 8 foot bench. My current one is 5 foot long, and that is good for probably 95% of everything I've made. But then I start getting to things like this when I'm using an 8 foot long tabletop, and that gets a little annoying. If I need to clamp on something that's longer than 5 foot, it's a bit of an annoyance. Not bad, it's just not as easy as I'd like. So you got to ask yourself what things are you going to be building, and then how much space do you have in your shop. I really don't know of many uses that need anything longer than 8 foot. With 8 foot, you can do just about anything you'd need. I do know some people who make them up to 12 foot long, but that's often because they're doing 2 projects and they use one end of the bench and the other end of the bench. So different things for different people. What's next?
Let's see.
So I just finished chamfering up this end, cleaning it up, and so now I'm going to continue the chamfer around this. So I'm going to work, I chamfered from here to here, and now I'm going to chamfer from here to here. What we got?
They're just talking about their workbenches.
Everyone's talking about workbenches.
Now in doing this, chamfering in multiple stages, you have to be careful to feather your chamfers together. So I always leave like about 6 inches of the board where the chamfer tapers out to nothing. And then that way I can reverse the feathering the other direction until I get a nice clean pass from one side to the other.
So, Abdullah Madazai, I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm butchering that name. What company are most of your tools from?
Well, most of my tools are antiques, and so most of them are Stanley. Because Stanley was, well, the big name in antiques. The big name in hand tools. So most of mine are Stanley, but that's not because I have an affinity for Stanley over others. If you go for tools that are, pre-1940, most all of them are going to be good user tools because you just didn't make a cheap tool back then. You didn't make a crummy tool. You made something that would sell. And so if you made something that was bad, you were out of business pretty quickly. Unlike now, where you sell things to people who don't know what they're doing, and therefore you can get away with some cheap stuff. But very few of my tools are new, and so because of that, I don't actually have, well, I don't have a lot of new tools. It's not that I have anything wrong with tools. I do have a bunch, but I don't use them as much because most of the time it is cheaper and easier to get an antique tool that will do the same thing and get it up and going. What we got?
I don't think I'm sorry.
Yes, you are. That's what happens when you work long days back to back.
Pretty much.
Going against the grain. Let's switch directions and push. That's better. What we got?
Nada. Oh, here.
Oh.
Go ahead and read it.
Is James going to use his bending stickers, or is he just
Chamfering.
chamfering?
Using what?
Chamfering.
Your winding stickers?
Winding sticks?
Yeah.
Winding sticks wouldn't be used for this. Winding sticks are used for flattening a board. They'll stick out past the side of the board so that you can get an idea if there's a twist in the board. I have a couple videos on making those. It's a great beginner project, one of the first tools. But you use that for flattening. But at this point, everything's flat. And now we're doing the final smoothing and detailing.
Do you feel it? Don't rub your... Hang on.
There we go. What's next?
Hang on, I'm getting something out of her eye. No, don't blink, don't blink. Ah. No, you.
What's
Put
wrong?
it back in, because you don't rub. Blink.
You see?
No, you gotta keep blinking. Keep blinking. It's almost out.
I can feel it.
I know.
Should get something in her eye?
Yeah.
I
I know, but every time you do that, you... Okay, but your hands are clean. You need to wash your hands if you want to touch them. Keep blinking. Work on your fake cry.
Did anyone see the Peter Hollins video today?
can't cry. It's so hard.
Peter Hollins singing Wash Your Hands to a whole bunch of different songs. That was good. So much so that I showed the kids this afternoon.
I can feel
I'll have to show it to you later, babe.
I'm gonna go wash my hands really quick.
What's that?
Nothing.
Oh.
Here, take this upstairs,
Mom.
please.
Okay, there's all the chamfering down 2 of the 4 edges. Now I got to do all the little detail chamfering on the end here. What we got?
That one. Oh. I need a... I don't know, run a lap or something.
What's that?
Said I need to go run a lap or something.
What other questions we got?
Nothing. That's what I keep telling
Oh,
you.
nothing. Oh. Yeah,
You
now we're...
asked me 2 seconds ago.
I'm really looking forward to having these in place. But it'll be interesting to see if I can actually put the videos out on these like I was expecting. Because Luke might not be able to come down to shoot the next series. So I may have to shoot them myself. Which, that'll throw a damper into the methodology. Plus with homeschooling the kids right now, it's taking a lot more of my time. So I spent most all of yesterday and the day before that getting everything set up to homeschool them.
Whoopsie.
There we go. Now let's flip it over and chamfer the other 2 edges. And we'll call it good.
Really annoying.
Let's see, what projects would you guys like to see me do? So I'm thinking about doing some quarantine project and working on something as a group on here and having a a small project that we can build together beginning to end. So if anyone has any fun ideas for that, let me know.
Dad, I have a good idea for you.
What's that, Mel?
A wooden book cover. Okay, it doesn't sound that funny, but I think it sounds great.
A what?
You need some hinges to open the book.
A wooden book cover.
Oh, a book cover. Well, you would have to talk to Alan about that. He is a
Yes.
binding specialist.
Not washing your hands.
And he actually rebound Mai's Bible. But that would be something fun. I always thought about, recently I've thought about going out to Alan's place and doing a video with him binding something.
Dad,
Be a fun time. But unfortunately, not right now.
So, Daring Dweller asks, where are the best places to get antique tools / planes?
Go online right now and Google and go to handtoolfinder.com. Handtoolfinder.com. It's a website I have set up where it is all about how to find hand tools online. Surprise, surprise. And I have a map of the entire world of all the places I've heard of that you can find them, as well as collectors associations, as there are many, many, many collectors associations out there. They often have meets where you can buy them. And then I also have on there a list of trusted online sellers. So if you can't find a local place for it, that way you can at least find someone who has it. So that's the source I usually use when I'm looking for a part. So like a lot of times I'll buy something and I'm missing that screw. I'll go down the list of online sellers and I'll ask them one by one, hey, I'm looking for this screw on this particular plane. And most of them say, nope, sorry, I don't have it. Every now and then one will say, yeah, I got one back here. And then most of the time there's someone who'll say, oh yeah, Joe Schmo has a pile of those and you can get them from him. And so if ever I'm looking for something, that's my first place to look. So handtoolfinder.com. It is, from my knowledge, the best, the most complete listing of places to buy hand tools anywhere. What's next?
this is tough.
I know. If you keep blinking, it'll eventually come out. Abdullah asks, can you do good woodworking if you buy cheap chisels but really sharpen them?
Yes.
Hey,
Hi.
Actually, in my my chisel test,
Okay, you can't.
I'm testing some Harbor Freight chisels.
You need shoes.
And until
Shoes,
recently,
shoes.
Harbor Freight and all these chisels are my main go-to chisels. However, after doing some of the tests in the chisel test, I bought a different set of chisels. So you'll be hearing about that here soon. But yes, you can do good work with cheap stuff. With chisels, it just means they get dull really quickly, and you have to sharpen them more. But for someone who is a beginner, that's not a problem because you'll get more experience sharpening, and the more you become proficient at sharpening, the better a woodworker you are. So it's really not a bad downside to have cheap tools that you have to sharpen more often. Open up. Let's see, we need to go from there to there.
got it out.
Sorry, everybody, you just watched.
What?
As I'm like picking at her eyeball.
Sorry.
Mom mode kicked in.
Sorry. I feel so embarrassed now. Oh, my word. Dad, do you not mind if we do the questions?
Hang on, we missed some. Right here, this one. You can ask it.
Don asked, can you chamfer with a spill plane? What even is a spill
Can you
plane?
chamfer with a spill plane?
What's a spill plane?
Sure. Yeah, you can chamfer with a spill plane. It would take a bit of control, but yeah. I wouldn't be able to do it on this curved surface. Well, I could probably do it on the outside, but it would take a lot of balancing. But yeah, I guess if you wanted to. I know of one guy who actually made a spill plane jointer. And so he joints all of his thin boards with a spill plane, which is kind of cool. Maybe I should do that sometime. That would be a fun time. And if you don't know what a spill plane is, it is a plane whose only intention is to make the curls. Originally, you would use a spill, which would be a long, straight curl that would hold itself together, and you would light one end, and it used as a match. You could carry it around the house and light all of the candles around your house. So not something that's used much anymore. But back in the day, you'd have people who would sell spills. And so if you had a spill plane, you could have a business, actually. What's next?
So ideas for projects were a birdhouse and a printer stand.
Well, as soon as I finish the desk, I'm actually going to be making a filing cabinet that goes underneath. So a short height filing cabinet goes under. That's basically what I just said. And then I'm also going to make a printer stand that goes above the desk. So I'll have each of those as separate plans, as well as being able to just get them all as the desk setup. But that one's down the list a little ways. For a printer stand, it really depends on what you want in it, because there are so many different ways of doing that it's more a personal preference than finding a good one.
Right here.
Debaka Maker asks, James, are the steel pins your friends made of
5/8 inch?
5/8
Are the spill plans?
Square bar or 3/4 inch?
What is that?
The steel pins your friend made?
Oh, they're a half-inch square steel. So yeah, they're just half-inch square bar steel that's been twisted. And if you don't know what you're talking about, the video I put out on Saturday showing the next step in the desk build, I used steel pins to what's the word I'm looking for? Steel pins to hold the arch to the leg structure as well as the top structure of the leg structure. So I have these square holes in my tenon, in the tenons here, and that is where the square pins go through. So it's a lot like what I did for the bed frame. I had a U-shaped pin that was 2 pins going through the paint frame. In this case, I just wanted 1 pin. So yeah, half-inch square steel. What's next?
There's a question for Melody. Go ahead.
Melody, what classes should your dad and mom create? Shop classes, medical, or more recesses? For me, none of those answers are for me. For me, it's drama class. I'm just into action right now. I'm in the fine arts. But I do like the more recess thing. Drama girl. I feel so awkward.
So Bryce asked, thoughts on the Veritas MK2 sharpening system for sandpaper sharpening. Debating whether it is worth it or if I should invest in a workshop. I can't get the sharpening right on my planes and chisels.
By the way,
If you're not going to do it freehand, my preferred way is the Veritas honing gauge. That is the bomb for holding it in place. Freehand sharpening is just one of those skills that the only way to do it is to mess up 100 times and then suddenly it starts clicking one day. Unless you have someone who can stand beside you and actually talk you through. I can show people 100 times all day long on video and it just never quite comes together. So, what happened, Art Melody?
Mom had to go out, so
JJ having problems?
Questions. Oh, and by the way, Alan, thanks for the book cover help. I really appreciate.
What's the next question, Melody?
The next question is the Idle Hands Workshop set asked, Mine's if I post a link from my site about I don't know what those two words are.
Yeah, man, you can post a link. Go for it. The automatic thing may drop it down, but Sarah can approve it when she comes back.
Oh, and the other question is, it's from Christopher Ronk. How do you get lumber now?
My preferred way of getting lumber is just finding a local sawyer, usually on Facebook or Craigslist. They'll list stuff that they have for sale. I'm always looking for slabs or lumber mill or something of that nature. And getting to know your local sawyer is where I get most of mine. Unless I need a specific piece of lumber that I can get from a lumber yard, it's very, very rare that I ever go to a lumber yard and get lumber. Unless I need something exactly, like sometimes I'll go to Menards if I need a board that's this by this and I need it now. It just saves me the time of having to dimension it. Oop, watch out, guys. Okay. I'm going to finish chamfering this up, and then we're going to do some of the glue up on the legs.
Okay, go by Daddy. Go by Daddy.
Which that will hopefully be in the next desk build. Hi, Melody. You can step over it. You can step over it.
Up here.
Because I'm reading to see if I missed any questions.
Okay.
There we go. Oh, wait, I got to smooth this up.
I can't fit it.
No,
Oh,
Melody.
did that
I actually am going to wait on smoothing it
Trying to read.
until later. Basically just doing the card scraper thing again. But I'm going to wait until I have the other one done. I need to get that in there too. Which, it's killing me, I didn't get that done before.
Is this still
No,
working?
stop. Stop.
Is this one still working?
Here, you can ask this question.
By the way, what do you mean? I got it.
Okay,
Okay, JJ has a
next.
question.
What's
Oh,
that?
they already asked that.
Where you gets the lumber from?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, is that where you're
Melody
at?
did that one.
I'm so sorry.
I see you, Melody. Can't hide from this.
All right, guys,
Guys,
you have to
you're
be
gonna
quiet
not
or
be
you
able to
go
be
out.
in
Do you
here.
understand?
Okay.
Okay.
How about how much money per board foot of maple is reasonable?
Depends on where you're at. Some places maple is crazy expensive, and some places it is dirt cheap. Around here, if I go to a lumber yard for regular straight maple, I'm looking at like $3, maybe $4 a square foot if it's nice stuff. Although if I go to a local sawyer, I might find maple for $1.50 a board foot. It's going to be rough sawn, and it's usually not going to be quite as grade A straight grain, but I like seeing that. So it really depends on where you are. You go to some places like the Pacific Northwest, and maple is far more expensive up there. And then price varies depending upon time of year and other factors as well. What's next?
Okay, how about you ask this one?
Oop, watch out, Mel.
Say Tom West.
Tom West asks, I
Where
wear a shop
apron?
apron. Is there a better apron
Then
than a
denim.
denim cheap one?
I actually don't wear aprons much anymore. I have my aprons over here. And the only reason I ever wore an apron was to have the microphone built into it, so I could just put on the apron rather than having to put the microphone in every time. But now that I record with Luke, we do a microphone setup differently, so I don't use aprons much. And when I do have an apron, they were a waxed canvas.
You want to go by Daddy?
So the denim waxed canvas is what I really like. Okay, guys. Let me see what the numbers on these. No, okay, guys.
Okay, go say hi by Daddy, and then I want you guys go play.
Yeah, I think it's time for you guys to head on out.
But Dad, I have one more piece of art.
I know you do, Melody. Kids. Okay. Because I'm going to be doing some gluing up here. So you guys need to head on out.
Okay, it's time for you guys to go play. I know.
Welcome to my life. So we're actually going to be gluing these leg structures up.
You can show it.
Let me show you what we're going to be doing on this.
You show it.
So I've got, this is
Sorry.
One
I just can't get out
of the
birthday
legs.
showing.
Okay. All right.
Bye.
Bye. Close the door.
Goodbye.
And so I have 3 of these to glue up today. And there's one clamp that pulls top to bottom, and then there's 2 clamps that pull back into front. And then I drive in pins as well. So the other thing I have to do is make the pins for that, and we're going to be doing those out of some walnut. Oh, flibberty gibbet. Shoot.
What are you looking for?
Well, scratch that.
Okay. Guys.
I am out of dowel stock to drive those pins in. So I'm going to have to come up with, because I glued up this one with walnut dowels. I like the look of the walnut dowels. And then I thought, oh, well, no problem. I'm going to be able to go get some more walnut dowel here soon. Well, now that everything's closed down, my supplier in town that would have it is not. So I'm going to have to see if I can order that on Amazon. Either that or, I might end up making my own dowels for that. I'd have to see if I have some dowel stock. Let's see what's got. Oh, hey, Tom. How's it going? Oh, is it Alan's birthday? Alan, happy birthday, man. Oh, that's why you were doing the birthday dance. Oh, well, cool job. I'm glad to have you on here. So, cool. And thank you, Tom, for bringing that to my attention. Let's see. There was a guy on Facebook here. So. Ooh, giving away lumber. That'd be nice. Project is shadow boxes.
Okay.
Wedding bouquet. That'd be cool.
Did you do a joke for Tom?
I did not.
Oh, slacker.
What joke you got?
I don't. Give me a second.
I gotta figure out what I want to do with this. Actually, I might have a little bit of that left.
Never iron a 4-leaf clover. You don't want to press your luck.
Ooh, I like that one. Okay. I've got a little bit of walnut dowel left.
What are you doing now?
I'm going to glue together another leg structure. So this is enough for me to glue together one leg structure. So we will do one live glue up. And usually glue ups are kind of stressful because you're rushing the glue speed, but in this case I'm going to be using epoxy.
No, not those. The other,
But
the coconut
let me
one.
just see how
Or the
long.
other shakes.
1, 2, nope, I can only get 2 out of this. So I'm going to cut this in half, and this will give me 2 pins, which will allow me to do one leg structure. And then I'm also going to chamfer these down. So I'm going to grab a block plane, set the plane upside down. I'm just going to run this over and chamfer down one corner so that it drives in a little easier. What else we got, babe?
Hang on, I gotta focus.
Good luck.
I know. Let's see. Bryce asked, would you ever make and sell the leather tool rolls like you make in the video a while back?
No, I do not sell what I make because my joy is teaching. My joy is showing off different tools and school styles and methods. I like demonstrating and showing things. So if I make things, I can make one video about that, but everything after that, I'm not actually doing something that I really enjoy because I'm making things that I can't make a video and teach anymore about because I already have the video on that. And so I do not sell what I make. Every now and then someone's like, hey, can you make me X? And it's something interesting. Like my mother has a piece of trim that hopefully soon I'm going to be able to get back into. And it's actually an arced piece of trim above a window. And so there's going to be one piece down one side and one piece down the other side with a keystone in between. But I have to finish that up. So I'm making that for her, but again, I'm not going to sell it. And anytime someone asks me to make something, I do not sell it because I want it to be for the joy of woodworking and demonstrating it and teaching it. And I can't do that if I'm selling it. But yeah, and the other problem is that most of the time when I'm making something, I put so much time into it with it all being hand tools Like I talked to people about the table that I made a while ago. So it's a 11-foot table, 4-foot wide, slab top dining room table. With the amount of time and money I have into it, it would, for me to sell it on the cheap side would be somewhere around $20,000 for that one table, for the amount of time that I have into it. So it would not be profitable for me to sell things because very few people are going to spend $20,000 on a single table. But I guess if someone out there offers me, I might take it. But I think my wife would force me to take it.
I would know you could make another one for us if necessary.
So we're going to be working with some epoxy here, and I need to mix it up. So I actually have all of these cups that I got from Sam's Club, and oops, that one broke. And they're just cheap plastic cups. And then I have a pile of popsicles. Actually, this one I'm not going to use a popsicle because I need a brush. So I'm going to get a mixing brush. This is one of those things that I can never get enough of because you waste them when you do epoxy. What questions we got? So I'm going to do 2 pumps of each. 1, 2.
Okay, hang on. There was a question about a foot stove.
A foot stove.
I know, I gotta find it now. My eyes are going cross-eyed. It's been a long day.
And now we mix.
For the project, make a foot stove. Few material. Oh, they want you to make a foot stove.
What is a foot stove?
A stove for your foot.
I've never heard of a foot stove.
I don't know.
Send me some information. It sounds kind of fun.
The ultimate question, should I use Western push saws or Japanese pole saws?
Whatever you want. Japanese pole saws are great for the beginner because they're almost impossible to over control. And so you set them up straight, they will track straight as long as they're good and true. Western saws are very, very easy to adjust and control. But that means they're very, very easy to over control. And that's the problem with most people is that they start going down the line and then it starts coming out of line and they force it back into line and they find themselves going out of the line on the other side and they do this like zigzag pattern back and forth across the line. That's because you're over controlling the saw. Rather than putting just a little bit of force in that's needed, you over control. And so for beginners, Japanese saws are fantastic. But the problem with Japanese saws is they take a lot of force to adjust. So if you want to do something different with them, if you want to follow a slight curve, it's almost impossible to make a Japanese saw do that. With a Western saw, you have all the control, and you can make a Western saw do whatever you want it to do. But again, it's a skill thing, so it depends on which one you prefer. And there's going to be lots of arguments out there one way or the other in different types. So it's a completely personal preference. Both of them will cut wood. Both of them will do it just as fast. Both of them are just as ergonomical as one another. If someone ever says one saw is more ergonomic than the other, they're wrong. They are mechanically the same amount of force to push or to pull. You're just using half of your structure on the pull force and then you're using your other half on the push force. It's the same motion. So don't ever fall into the trap of one is more ergonomical than the other. Sorry, pet peeve of mine. I'm going to lay this out and make sure I've got these. Oh, that's the one I still need to cut. Okay, we're not going to do this one. Thought there was one over here.
Oh, so in the old days, going back for centuries, people used little foot stoves that were filled with hot coals. These foot warmers help make you feel comfortable if you sat in a chair. Yes.
So like a bedpan. Not the medical bedpan.
I was like, I know what
bed
you're
heating
talking
pan.
about. But
Yes. Don't say bedpan to a nurse.
and then you gotta differentiate if it's clean or not. Anyways, no yawning. Hey.
What?
They told me no yawning.
Oh, yeah.
I've been yawning like half the show. It's really bad today.
So James 3, 4, 3. So you go in there, and you go in there. But nope, not that way. That way. Why are you so loose? Oh, that's better. But isn't that side or that side? So this is, sorry, I just got to make sure I'm putting this together correctly because there'd be nothing worse than putting it in the opposite direction. James, end of office desk. This way, this way. Yep, that's the right way. Cool. So let's pull that out into there, and let's make sure that you are 4 and 4. Always, always, always check every joint before doing the glue up. Thankfully, it's epoxy, so I've got a little bit of time to play with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lather up each of the feet. I'm going to lather up the arch. I'm going to put the foot onto the arch. And then I'm going to lather up the 2 ends, connect those into this. Then I'm going to lay it down and put all of the clamps onto it. The nice thing about doing it with this is it's pretty quick and easy to just brush it on and work with it. And I've got lots of time with this epoxy. I probably have 3 or 4 hours of decent functionality to it. The other thing is that the only place where I have long grain to long grain is on the sides of these where these brush in. So I'm going to put it in there, but I'm also going to put it on all of the main surfaces. What other questions we got?
Do you prefer making a spoke shave or a bench plane? Brian wants to know.
Spoke shaves are easier. Bench planes are more rewarding, but it really depends on the person and what you like. And I don't really find one or the other more rewarding than the other. I think that they are both equally enjoyable. It just depends on which one I need at the time, or if I have some interesting design aspect or something that would look cool on one or the other. That might intrigue me one or the other. But I don't think I have any particular desire over one or the other. Yeah, we were talking earlier about how many I've made, and I probably have made somewhere around 30 or so spoke shaves, planes, things of that nature. Probably only about a dozen or so actual bench style planes. But yeah, what else we got?
Oh, where did it just go? Mr. Q wants to know if you can make a video about upcycling a chisel into a shoulder plane.
I have a video, it's an old one, about making a chisel into a grooving plane, which would basically be the same. But if you go to Paul Sellers, he actually has an old video series where he turned a chisel into a shoulder plane. Oh, actually, it was a rabbit plane. Or, excuse me, it's Paul Sellers, so it's a rebate plane. But, oops, don't get these mixed up. That one goes over there. That one goes over there. But no, I haven't actually done that. It might be a good one. The couple shoulder planes that I've made, I've always done those out of either an old blade that I pulled out of another plane or out of a piece of O1 steel that I've cleaned up and shaped for it. What else we got?
Frozen 2 in my ear.
How many times have we listened to Frozen 2 in the last week and a half?
Not enough, apparently. There was a question. What about making a Dado plane from a chisel?
Same thing. It's basically the exact same thing as a shoulder plane, just it goes in the middle of the board rather than on the edge of the board. But yeah, no, I haven't done that with a chisel. Whether it's a chisel or a block of steel, it's the exact same thing. You just break the handle off and you've got a block of steel that just happens to have a pointy end on it. Same as any plane iron, so there really shouldn't be any difference between making it out of a chisel and making it out of another plane iron that you got specifically for it. What you got?
Hang on.
I'm hanging. I'm holding.
I know. I'm fading as part of
Yeah.
the problem.
Why do you think I wanted to do it earlier?
I know.
Do you know how you get around 8 o'clock?
You turned into a
Something about
pumpkin.
the amount of hours you've been putting in, or
Yeah, like there's a pandemic or something going around. Like, I don't know. Oh, there was just a question and I can't find it. Okay, stop commenting, everybody, for a second so I can find the question. Oh.
There we go.
Where did it go?
Now let's do the other end. Let it go. Let it go.
Oh, here we go. No, I asked you about. Did I ask you between a spoke shave and bench plane?
Yep.
Okay, hang on.
Something I love about working with epoxy. You
I
have all
found
this
it.
work time.
Ivy's Forge asked, James, can you do a video about making a shave horse?
I want to do that. That has been on my list for years. Unfortunately, it's probably going to be on my list for probably another year at least. I want to make, wanted to do is make a full-size shave horse and actually have an outside shop. Do some blacksmithing and some green woodworking out there. That'd be a lot of fun. But down the roadways, one project at a time. What else you got?
Nothing. I'm finally caught up.
Oh, we're caught up! Woohoo!
I hope. If I've skipped a question, just throw it back in the
So
chat.
the next thing I need to do is going to put this all together, and then I'm going to put it in clamps, and then I'm going to drive the pins through. Now, one fear I have is one of these legs, I put the holes, they're drawboard holes, so they're out of alignment. But one of these, I put the holes out of alignment the wrong direction. And so if that's the case, I have to do a little bit of file work before I actually clamp them together. Oops. And I have to do a little bit of scraping before this all goes up. Okay, so let's see. Which end do we have? So we have James, Office 2, and this is number 4, and this is number 3, and this is the bottom. So this needs to go on here, and that needs to go on there. Flip this up, put this in. Talking to myself a lot, want to make sure I get this in right. One end in. And bend this one. Hey, woo! There we go. Now let's do the clamping. And let's just take these clamps off of this one then. Look at that. All done. Happiness. Like an old baking show. That made her happy.
It's because it took me a second to process, because I was reading Ivy's Forge offer to make you a draw knife if you make the shave horse video.
Oh, that'd be fun. Someday I will make a shave horse.
I think they're trying to bribe you to make it fast.
There we go. So first thing I want to do, make sure this is all the way up against there, and clamp this one down.
What's the term we used to watch that they used to say all the time for the Great British? Did you proof it long enough?
Need to prove it, yes.
Or
Make sure it's in the proving drawer.
can I just say I had no idea that what the phrase "the proof is in the pudding" was until we started watching Great British Bake Off. Totally means something different in the American mind until you watch the British baking show. It was eye-opening.
Down a little farther. And there's that one. And with epoxy, you don't have to worry about clamping pressure as much. With PVA glues, they rely on clamping pressure. So if you don't clamp it hard enough, PVA glues just don't work. They require a good clean surface. They require clamping pressure. Epoxies do not require clamping pressure because epoxy will cure even if there's a gap in between. It will still have a really strong bond. Now it's better if you have a mating surface, but even if there's a gap in between the two pieces, the epoxy will still hold. Whereas with PVA, if there's any gap in between the two, the PVA does not connect the two. You have to have a good joint. You have to have pressure squeezing the two together.
I'm sorry, I have off.
Oh, they're off. They're a little pitchy.
They're a little pitchy.
Okay, that one's good. And that one's good. Woo, we're happy. So now we need to drive these pins in. And because these are, they are counter boards, so the holes in them are off-centered. So it goes through straight, and then it goes into the tenon, and it goes out, and then it goes down, and it has to jog back. And so what that'll do is it'll suck that joint together. So I'm going to add a little bit more epoxy down into the hole. Very, very carefully. Do it in this one too. And then we can hammer these down in.
I feel like place. I should be like, we have our native woodworker in his natural environment. See how he pours the epoxy. I don't know. I'm getting a little loopy as I.
And then let's hammer this down in place. So. There, it went through that. Now it's getting harder as it gets into the second one. Now have it stick out both ends, about a 1/2 inch or so.
Wait, are you going to do that again?
Yep.
Can I wax something?
Yeah, come on over here.
Yes!
You can play wax. I'll set it up for you. There you go. Drive this pin in. Just don't break it. Come on, hit it.
Well, I gotta grow it another couple inches.
Oops, stop. We got a problem. Oh my. Ah! I have a joint splitting out on me. Uh-oh. Let me show you guys. You're not going to see this on any other channel, but I have a joint coming out. What happened...
Sarah was too strong.
Yeah, now I got to pound it back out. What happened here, let me zoom in. I'm going to show you my defaults.
What's wrong? What?
Arthur, no.
What happened? Did you hit your mouth?
Yeah.
So what happened was we pounded this through and it split this off.
But not on purpose.
So I've got to back it out
Here.
Oh, you want to kiss it?
and fix this hole before the epoxy sets. So grab something to drive it back out with.
Right here.
Nope, that's not going to work.
Here.
There we go.
Your tooth.
Hi.
Got a 1/4 inch. Oh, that one's not going to work either. It's bent.
That thing is already with
Okay, Arthur.
Yeah.
So let's drive this out. And actually, before I drive it out, because it's actually spreading this apart, I'm going to use this as a chance to put epoxy in there and clamp it back together with that. So I'm going to use this as a chance to actually do some work in here. And load that joint up with epoxy. I'm going to have a good amount of squeeze out on here, so it means I'm going to have to come back and scrape it later. But such is life. Work that down in.
Well, that's the one going in the basement. No.
Yeah, actually it is. This will be mine, not the kids. There. Now we got glue in that joint. So once I get it all together, I'm actually going to put something else on here to squeeze this down. That's drive. Ooh, don't fall off. Let's drive that pin out.
Oh, that looks better.
Save the pin because I need it. It's the only one I've got. You're the only pin we've got. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Let's grab one of these. Squeeze this together. What questions we got?
Nothing. They're just happy that it happens in your shop too.
Oh, it happens in every shop. I can guarantee you stupid stuff like this occasionally happens in every shop out there, from this old house to Paul Sellers. It's just whether or not it makes the cut. And most of the time, it takes more effort to show this than it does to hide it. Because unless it's something live like this, it actually takes more work to show the problem than to hide it. And a lot of people think that it actually takes more work to hide the joint than it does to actually show it. But when you shoot 4 or 5 hours worth of footage and you have 10 minutes worth of video, it's actually, wow, that joint's, oh, because that pin's in there, that's right. So I'm going to have to do, yeah, I'm going to have to, well,
Mommy,
yeah, we can do it this way.
Arthur keeps licking the couch for no reason. He says he's cleaning the couch to put these white spots.
There we go. Now it's fine. Drawbar tenon with problems. There, so I'm going to leave that on there. And I'm going to clamp this back on. And we can set this aside. Let it cure up. And then I'll come back and scrape this off later once it cures. Just going to scrape off some of this excess. There you go. Cool. Once that all cures up, you'll never know there's a problem. The best way to do it. But yeah, problems like that happen in every shop. Don't worry. It's all about, can you learn from your mistakes and issues in the past?
So did I just,
What's that?
was it just not lined up, or was it?
Yeah, no, well, it was drawbar. And so because the holes aren't lined up, and it is a bit of a weak spot, that's why I'm putting a pin through there to hold it all together. And so because it was that weak spot on there, it just busted off the other side of the joint. It would be better if there was more material, but if there was more material, it would be running into the top of the desktop that goes on there. So you can't put more material there. There's always other ways to do other joints that might make it a little bit better, but as long as there's a pin through there, that joint will be perfectly strong enough for it. And now that there's glue in that crack won't come apart again. So what questions we got? I don't think I have anything else that I can work on right now. That's killing me that I left those pins. Now I'm going to find a place where I can get 3/8 walnut pins.
Where did you leave?
But no, I have a dowel maker.
Where did you leave pins?
No, I did not have enough, so I can't go and buy them now because the store that would sell them is closed right now. Yeah, but I do have a dowel maker, and I only need 4 more. So I'm going to see if I can scrounge up a chunk of walnut and make my own. But not right now. So yeah, I'll probably be doing a few lives like this occasionally throughout the time of everyone being home. And if you are a member here on YouTube or you are a patron on Patreon, I'm going to be doing a couple hangouts here, probably one on Thursday, where I actually do a hangout in the shop where you can come and hang out. I'm just going to be working, building things, and you can be building in your shop, and we can actually build things together. So that should be kind of a fun time. But yeah, what other questions we got?
I need to do something with this.
Arthur,
Do something with it.
go.
Nope, they said you can just start on the show you course now.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, I'm okay.
Yep, Sarah's got a new headdress.
I'm so pretty.
I'll wrap this up in a minute unless anyone has any questions or thoughts.
You also have a lathe you could use to make dowels.
I could. I may end up doing that to get them close to the size and then drive them through the dowel maker to make the exact size. So if you don't know what I mean by dowel maker, I have a video on showing off one from DMF Toolworks as well as making one myself. Speaking of which, if anyone's looking at buying particular tools like that, right now would be a great time to go and help out the small makers. There's a whole bunch of guys out there who make tools for hand tool woodworkers. Blackburn Toolworks, Black Bear Forge, Bearcat Woodworking, DMF Toolworks, Hawk Iron Steel. Let's see, oh, come on, Bad Axe Toolworks. And they are really hurting right now because they can't make anything at all. And most of them are sole proprietors, so they don't get anything extra. They're just kind of out on a rung. And I know particularly like DMF Tools, he's really going through the ringer right now because that's his income for him and his house. So if anyone has the ability to buy from local makers and help them out, that would be huge. I cannot say how big that would actually be to them. So yeah, if you can do that, help out local makers and let's keep this community afloat. But, anything else?
Oh, hang on. There was one question from Poor Man. I've got my plane squared out on the bottom, but it won't make shavings. Where should I start troubleshooting?
The plane won't make shavings. That could be a whole bunch of different issues. I mean, if it's getting clogged up in the mouth, then there's issues with the mouth size or plane. Are you saying you're not getting any shavings because the blade isn't contacting the wood, in which case then you need to push it farther forward? There are lots of things, and the flat bottom is basically has nothing to do with whether or not the plane makes shavings. So that's yeah, I don't know. Feel free to send me an email and send me pictures as well. That would be great. If you want to see that, there's the About Me tab on YouTube, and I have my email listed on there, as well as there's a contact form on my website. You can send me an email on the contact form, and then I can reply back so you can send me pictures. But yeah, send me some information. I'd be glad to help you with that. Is that it, or we got more?
I think that's it.
Cool. I think I'll about do it, and we'll hang out from time to time, so stay tuned. If you want most up-to-date information on doing Hangouts, the Hive Mind on Facebook, it is the Wood by Right Hive Mind group, and that's where I put most of things. Otherwise, I do put some stuff up on the Wood by Right page as well, but I do most of the communication with people on the Hive Mind group. So, looking forward to seeing you guys around and having fun in your shops, getting some projects done. So, lots of extra free time. Let's enjoy this.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, unless you're a nurse or someone else like that, yeah. I think I'll do it for now. So until next time, have a wonderful day.
Bye.
Bye.